opinions, feel free to say that. But do any of you think there'll be any more shifts in the industry within the next few years? And if so, how do you feel about it?
Speaking from the equipment side, I'm not a coach or a trainer or an athlete, but from the equipment side, in the next few years, I see a big transition into almost crowdsourcing. My business model has always been collaboration over competition, and I don't see a future for the single-celled monolithic brands that look inward for their product development. Companies are going to exist more as a platform. The company that ultimately ends up prevailing will be a platform to allow companies like myself and all of you gentlemen to be able to grow your businesses on it without having to, fight each other. All of us are paying money on Instagram and Facebook marketing right now, and all we're doing is bidding up each other. I see a consolidation of all those products and companies onto a single page where all of our ad dollars are being allocated to promote the same exact platform, to where, you can get, if you're spending 200 grand a year in marketing and advertising, the combined total of all of us is spending multiple millions of dollars. We can get the trickle down sales from all of those other products and companies and accessories, and increase the lifetime value of our customer and lower our conversion rates, and ultimately grow by collaboration and looking outwards for product development. A product development team of 8 billion people strong could never possibly lose.
I was going to say that
sounded like a sales pitch, Dylan.
I'm building a platform. I'm going to reach out in about a month to see if you guys want to sign up.
I was thinking about that with all the niche companies that are out there now, in reference to the last question. I mean, obviously people are buying barbells and plates and things like that, but there's so many niche products out there in the last 2 years that have just shown up, and so many small companies that have just shown up. I mean, for obviously everyone here has like a niche product. We sell fractional plates. It's still a niche product. Dumbbell plates are still a niche product. And going forward, what Dylan was saying, like, I mean, either you're going to get like bought up or by bigger companies, or maybe I think a lot of people are like trying to sell their idea. Like, I've had people call me and try to sell me their ideas because people don't want to like go through and build the whole business like all of us have done here, kind of like take the easy way out. But that's probably the future. There'll probably be some consolidation. I mean, it's really fragmented right now. I mean, is it easy to say who the number one weightlifting equipment company is? I mean, it's easy to say like Walmart's the biggest retailer, but would people say, when you think of weightlifting, if you to ask somebody on the street who's the biggest shoe brand, they're going to maybe say Nike. But if who's the biggest weightlifting brand, they're probably, I don't even know what they say, Rogue, maybe York, and that York's not even what it once was. So maybe you get all these teams together, and obviously the weak kind of perish, and some of the strong companies stay afloat.
Put it this way, Mike, if I would have sold my company 20 years ago to the largest seller of fitness equipment on the planet, I would have sold my company to Sears, and that wouldn't have worked out for me so well.
Yeah, that's a great example. Like I said, no one knows who the biggest is. My whole family, no one knows who even Rogue is if you don't weightlift. I mean, we were just talking about how obviously they're a pretty big company, Rogue, Titan, some of the big ones, but I mean, they're not exactly Walmart. It's still kind of fragmented out there. You can kind of go and pick and choose what you want. You don't just grab some cast iron plates and a bar from Dick's Sporting Goods and call it a day. There's like an infinite amount of options now. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think that's interesting how Dylan said earlier, how it seems like people are a little more educated now. Whereas like 10 years ago, you would have walked into Walmart, you would have bought puzzle mats, some cheap dumbbells, maybe a crappy all-in-one machine. So it is interesting to see how that has evolved.
People like you, Jake.
And I would say some of that market is probably going to come full circle, and you're going to see that again. I mean, you walk in Lowe's right now, and you're going to see treadmills and exercise bike in Lowe's, in a hardware store. And you're going to walk in Best Buy, and you're going to see tonals, you're going to see mirrors, and you're going to see the fitness integration into that big box market. You're going to see Amazon make a pass on Peloton. I mean, it's these things are going to happen. But I think Mike had it right. For us that are focused on customer solutions, niche, products, I don't think we do anything but continue to tread forward. Those things are just going to happen, and they're just going to be cyclical in the background.
And I think that especially with COVID, there's been an influx of more companies. I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed since COVID, everything took off. And then now, like compared to the previous few years, there's a substantial increase in companies trying to get in on that, because there's obviously a high demand, especially when there are shortages of stuff. So I think there's going to be a higher saturation of companies that are developing equipment, but I think it's going to be categorized as there's going to be like companies like Titan, I guess you'd say, without trying to sound like I'm starting to talk shit about people, but
go ahead, Steve.
To throw marketing and like money at stuff that they can just, replicate quickly and blow it out. And then I think there's going to be more of the companies like us that are focusing on the innovation and stuff like that, because the competition in this space is actually less, even though the development and all that stuff is more challenging. So the barrier to entry, like that's why that was a motivation for me to do something different, because who's going to start a business and compete with bigger companies selling the same stuff?
You've noticed how we can all sit on the same call though?
What's that?
We can all sit on the same call because we're all in the exact same industry, but none of us are in competition with either of us. You get the top 5 selling fitness companies out there that aren't really as much innovative fitness companies as they are marketing and advertising companies that specialize in selling metal. But
Exactly.
you can't get them all on a call together. You can't get them in a room together. They
No.
prefer not to be in the same state if possible.
That's true.
Dude, I mean, Steve, like 1000% what you said, and Dylan too. You know, I remember, you know, when Dylan, when we met in St. Louis and had dinner that night, you know, you said that you'd rather collaborate versus compete, and I'm 1,000,000% on that same boat, because frankly, like there's more than enough out there for all of us to eat. And you know, Steve, you brought up how you're seeing all these like companies pop up, and you know, and I'm just throwing out random names like Beast Fitness and then God's Fitness, and then it's like they have that same copy and paste rack that the same manufacturer overseas is making, and this brand new company, somehow they have like 50 products, and I'm like, yo, this company's brand new, how do you guys have 50 products? Oh yeah, because you picked them out of a catalog that some overseas manufacturer made for you. And honestly, I kind of get hyped when I see that, because that makes all of us look way better, because those people, like frankly, a company like that is never going to be able to compete with anybody like us, because we're actually innovating. We're actually trying to come up with real solutions. We're actually trying to solve people's problems and do it with a product that is actually built well, that has a higher quality standard, not just some junk that's mass manufactured for like 19 other companies. And it's very evident that some of those people, like, oh, they're just trying to cash in where they can or hop in and grab a piece of the pie. You know, I think a lot of those, I've seen a lot of those companies, they hit the market hard with a ton of money in ads, and then you don't hear about them after a while. And I even have a lot of customers that say, oh, I bought this bench, or I bought this rack from this other place, and they're no longer in business. And I was like, yeah, I could have told you that, you know, before it ever happened, because they have zero foundation on what they essentially on what they're doing. They're just trying to
Make money.
grab. Exactly. So and don't get me wrong, like I'm trying to make money too. I'm in it for the long haul, and I'm sure every single one of you guys are too. And it's just a slow, long process where we make mistakes, we learn, and over time that creates value for our customers and also each other. So
I mean,
I'm not in this to be a distributor for somebody else's stuff.
yeah, for sure. No, that's excuse me, but that's whack as hell, man. I ain't trying to do that.
That's just, I mean, that's not why I invented stuff, you know.
It seems like everybody here kind of knows their niche. From my perspective, it seems like you guys all understand you're not going to go away from that. Like you're going to continue focusing on that. Does it seem like that niche, though, is going to continue to get larger over the next few years? Or do you think the masses will continue to go with things like Peloton or cheap flooring, or, you know, stick with the mass manufactured products? It kind of seems like from my end, not to like give you guys the answer, but that's the cool thing to do if you're on the Discord channels or Reddit, is to really dive into a lot of the stuff that your guys' companies are selling.
I found from a product development standpoint that every single time I think that I'm kind of dried up, you know, I'm starting to think, oh, what am I going to do next? Time to go back to boats or pizza. You know, somebody will come to me with the problem, and then there's an influx, and it comes in waves where there's 20 or 30 different ideas at one time. I got a board behind me with 30 different products in which I'm working on the different stages of their product life cycle. And, you know, from studying these different pieces of fitness equipment, these accessories over the past several months, I've come to find that the majority of the things that seems like they've been around forever were invented within the last 10, 20, 30 years. You know, we're still in the .com boom of like fitness accessories. The things that will be made have not been made yet. We're not done. I've always said that new problems create old solutions, and old solutions, yeah, there's new problems that arise to them. And there's going to be something that needs to come out of, you know, solving all the new problems to the new solutions out there. You know, every time a company makes a new version of a rack or a new bench, it creates a new opportunity for an accessory to come in and improve it just a little bit. So I think we're only scratched the surface of what's going to ultimately be in this industry within the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
I agree. Like you said, I think there's going to be, I don't think it's ever going to get dry, like for certain categories. So I think like the innovative companies like us, even the knockoff companies and all that stuff is just because of statistically the influx in demand. I think everyone's going to get a piece of that. But like you said, Dylan, I think it's definitely in the infancy stage in regards to fitness, because comparatively, when I worked in the automotive industry, there's so much more competition because they're closer to that ceiling. And that's one thing with like the deadlift jack that motivated me, because that was one of the items I felt like when I looked at it, I'm like, this thing was designed once 20 years ago and no one's like revisited it. So I'm like, it's so, it's like so rudimentary to me, like even just visually, I'm like, there has to be something to, like, there's a lot more room to improve on this product than just say, you know, the racks now that are, you know, unless someone comes up with something new and innovative.
People going through Amazon and looking to see what has 4,000 or 5,000 reviews, you know, because if you could see the 5,000 reviews, you could say, okay, they sell 50,000 of these things a year. Let me make a version of that. You keep the data and analytics to yourself, but it's a huge market to sell also. So it's this catch-22. What do? You utilize this platform. I'm scared shitless that Amazon's going to make an Amazon Basics ad map.
Exactly. And that's why, like, I think that's a big part of their like business plan is you sell on their platform. If it does well enough, they're like, okay, let's make our version.
That's what Apple did with their App Store. You remember Shazam? Now just ask Siri who sings this song. It'll tell
you. Is it Shazam or Kazam? Kazam's the movie with Shaq, I think.
They asked him if he wanted to be an actor in a movie where he played a genie. He said no. They said, we'll pay you $5 million. He said, abracadam.